Very belated welcome to all of you. Thank you for waiting so patiently. This is the 6th episode of this year's Igniting Enterprise webinar series. My name is Kumar Handocha. I work as the head of partnerships for the Peter Jones Foundation. I've been your host for this academic year, where each webinar we're joined by some really incredible business founders who share their stories with you. The PJF team has worked with our partner Pearson at Excel to carefully select these entrepreneurs and produce a bit of a worksheet, which we hope you're using. We had a quick look at the last one that was produced, and it looks fantastic. And that's teachers across 3 curriculums: GCSE, Business, and A-Level, and the Tech Award. So that these conversations are basically designed to match to your curriculums and be relatable to your students. A really quick introduction to Peter Jones Foundation. We're a registered charity with founder and president, well known from the TV, Peter Jones from Dragon's Den. And we are at the forefront of encouraging, educating, and empowering young people around the world in enterprise and entrepreneurship. I'm just going to quickly pause there. Curtis, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
You
can hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. I'm just going to cue you in, but really quick bit of housekeeping for everyone before we introduce Curtis again. One little change, if you've joined any previous episodes, is we're going to have a bit more time today for question and answers, just based on some feedback. So please continue using that chat tab. Thank you for everyone who's been kind of telling us where you're joining us from. But we definitely want this to be a two-way conversation. But again, a slight change is we're going to save all those questions to the end. So please don't think we're ignoring you, and we'll try to get through as much of those as we can. And as always, snippets of these recordings will be shared with all Pearson course teachers, as well as on the Foundation's social channels. And the full recording will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. And just before I introduce Curtis, I promise, just to let you guys know, there's one more left for this academic year. It's on the 18th of May, so in a couple of weeks. And that's with Josh Wintersgill, who actually was on our series last year, who's the founder of Able Move. And I've seen that, that quite a lot of you have already registered for that one. So please do register if you haven't already. But without any further ado, I am delighted to welcome today's business leader, Curtis Thompson. Curtis, how are you doing? Founder of Local Honeyman.
Hi, Kumar. Hi, thank you. Nice to be here. Hi, everyone.
Great. We're going to get stuck straight in. Like I say, please keep those questions coming. You can use either the questions tab or the chat tab on the bottom right. So give us a bit of a Local Honeyman in a nutshell. If you can, your elevator pitch.
Okay, no problem. So my name's Curtis Thompson, owner and founder of Local Honeyman. Local Honeyman is London's largest bee farming company. We breed and raise honeybees across London and surrounding counties. We also produce raw local honey. We're stocked in the likes of Morrison's, Waitrose, John Lewis, a number of small other independent delis. We've also got a store in Walthamstow.
Amazing. And what would you say, what makes your honey unique?
I suppose it's really because it comes direct from the bee farmer. So we're bee farmers, beekeepers. So there's full traceability and knowing exactly where your honey comes from. It's the richest, purest honey that you can actually try. A lot of time when people come in store and they do sampling, so something that a lot of customers always say is that it reminds them of how honey used to be, how the honey was when they were youngsters, because it's really it's really the real deal. The bee's knees, if I do say.
Love it. I think we're going to get quite a few puns from you today, and I can't wait for it. Do you think a part of that is nostalgia, like people just growing up and thinking it tasted better back then, or has the chemicals being added and all the things that you can kind of conjure up in your head, is that true? Has the taste changed because of the way they produce it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, because of sort of the capitalist world we live in, and it's all being driven by profits. It seems to me that a lot of other honey producers, suppliers, are actually sort of diluting the honey or adding other sort of syrups and chemicals, as you say, into it, which really it's great for us because it gives us a really strong competitive advantage in the marketplace.
I'm going to go straight into. Actually, wait. Before I do that, in terms of terminology, do you mind keepers or so beekeepers or bee farmers, or do you just use them interchangeably?
Interchangeably. But essentially, I started as a beekeeper and sort of then transitioned into a bee farmer. But yeah, either one I'm happy with.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a bit more about that. I'm intrigued. I'm going to go straight into your marketing and promotion. So, what kind of channels do you use? How do you promote your honey?
So we use a number of channels. We use social media, direct to the consumer. We use traditional flyers through your letterbox. But we found that the number one marketing channel above all else is word of mouth. At Local Honeyman, we pride ourselves on customer excellence, and it really speaks volumes when customers come in and they have the Local Honeyman experience, and they're dying to share it with their friends, share it with their relatives. And so I find that's definitely by overall the best marketing channel.
Interesting. And you mentioned at the start that you're in some pretty big names stores like Waitrose and John Lewis. Does that make it easy? Do you track that kind of repeat custom? Because that's what it's really about. Loyal customers generate word of mouth, right?
Yes, yeah, for sure. It's very hard to track it accurately, and going through the big sort of superstores, the big national stores, because as you know, I'm sure you use supermarket yourself. You go in, you buy the product you like, and you check out. You don't sort of really interact with the business per se. So, but we're able to identify tracking and repeat purchase when people are placing orders through our website, or they're coming into store, or they're using some of our smaller partners, people that have sort of sandwich shops or farm shops, and then the customers are coming in and actually requesting and asking for the brand.
Interesting. I know you sent me a very nice video. I got the chance to view it earlier today. I'm just going to cue it up for our audience today. It's a little short video that shows the process, isn't it? Of your manufacturing process of honey. 1 second. Please have your volume up, guys. Oh, that's not good.
Technology for you.
It's just not liking us today. Let's try again. Let me try again. 1 second. Okay. Let me try again. 1 second. Right, this should work. There we go. Good soundtrack as well. No, really cool video. When did you make that video?
We made this video a number of years now. It must be maybe 3 or 4 years ago now.
Okay.
I picked that video because I feel like that really sums up exactly what Local Honeyman's about. It captures the whole sort of process, of actually being beekeepers, bee farmers, going into the hive, extracting the honey, the pure honey, and then actually spinning it and straight into the jar. you're not able to get any purer than that.
Right, got you. And in terms of, in the video, we saw quite a lot of like heavy machinery, right, as well as the human element of going, in the full gear. What do you call it?
A veil or a bead suit. Yeah.
Bead suit. Is that how you have to start, or was it you kind of grow to that level and have the big machinery?
Yeah, you definitely grow in phases. How I started was with a manual extractor, that you have to wind up. You have to wind up to spin. Really gets your arms going. Yeah, and I suppose the way I started was really me, myself, and I. I literally done the whole process from beekeeping to washing the jars to bottling the honey, labeling it, trying to find markets, trying to find marketing channels to advertise it on, just doing the whole thing. But I feel as though building and starting a business that way, it gives you a much better insight into the runnings of the business and the kind of personality and people that you actually need to be in the business, to be in the different departments, and then it helps you build the structure. And nobody's able to actually pull the wool over your eyes, because I've been in every single process.
So you thought you benefited from wearing different hats during that kind of startup phase?
100%. And
right.
I speak to a lot of sort of young up and coming entrepreneurs, and I always recommend that same way of starting and building the business. It takes a bit longer. There's a lot more sort of sweat equity that goes into it, but it definitely pays off in the long run for sure.
And how did you get your first kind of, did you do any work experience? Did you find a beekeeper, bee farmer to work alongside?
So I suppose it's a bit of an interesting story because so I was born and raised in a London city, in Hackney, and I was never exposed to agriculture, bees. I didn't even realize or appreciate the link between a jar of honey and the bees that you see buzzing around on the flowers. But it was when my uncle came from Jamaica when I was 15, and he's a master beekeeper. And he developed the interest for me. I never thought I would go into beekeeping or honey in any particular way. It was always just that was something that crazy uncle done. He sort of messed around with bees and brought me a bottle of honey every couple of weeks. So naturally, I went down the path that I was sort of gifted at, which was finance and maths. I went and done an economics degree, then went into investment banking, working for Citigroup in Canary Wharf. Was enjoying it, putting on all the sort of the flashy suits and the status and what do you do? And it's like, okay, yeah, well, I do thank you very much, sort of thing. But me being ambitious, I used to always sort of want to get to the top of any industry, any game that I'm in. So I was speaking to a guy called Neil Swinburne. I'll never forget it. He was head of the desk. He was head of the trading desk, and he used to get like a £1 million bonus every year. And so all the other traders were always sort of looking at him in awe. And I persuaded him so that I could take him for lunch, so that I could find out exactly what it takes to be sitting in his shoes and doing what he does. But then the more he let me into his world and how he actually lives, the more I said, this is not actually for me. There's no work-life balance. He wasn't married. He didn't have any kids. Although, yeah, great, he made £1 million bonus, but he had no time to spend it. He had no quality of life. It was all very stressful, very just numbers on the screen. That's the only thing that mattered.
Right.
And so, me being me, I thought, no, this is not for me. I want to do something that has more of a tangible benefit, and something that I can be proud of. So I went to various sort of business seminars, as you do, and the one thing that really highlighted to me was going into business for yourself is going to be very hard. So you must follow your passion, not just about making money. So I sat down and I thought, okay, so what's my passion? And I thought, you know what, I really do enjoy going down on the Sundays with my uncle and doing the bees and the honey and getting stung and holding his smoker and getting the adrenaline rush. So I looked more into the industry and I saw that there was a viable business model. And so before leaving my job, I extracted some of my uncle's honey, took it down to a market in Leytonstone, and I was simply blown away. I was blown away at the demand for the product and how it was received. People sort of were just really really tripping over themselves to buy the honey. They really liked what we done, and the warm feeling it gave me. I said, okay, I think there's something here. I'm onto something here. And then just went and built step by step. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears along the way. I hope that answers your question. A bit of a long answer, but
it does. You know what? As you kind of regaled that amazing story, it kind of, I jotted down a few words because it basically answered my next question, which I was going to ask you kind of what are the key skills or characteristics that you think you have that support the growth of your business. And the few things I jotted down from your story were ambition, pride, your awareness of like that work-life balance you wanted, not being scared of hard work. And the last thing you touched on was that, I guess it relates to pride as well, but it's like that reward that you get from satisfying customers. Is there any characteristics or skills that you thought, not necessarily you're born with, but just that you nurtured over that time that really helped you on your way?
Yes. Tenacity is definitely one characteristic that any entrepreneur, any business person really needs, because it's not all plain sailing. There's a lot of downs. There's a lot more downs than there are ups, and so having that ability to keep going, even when you fail, to keep persevering, I would say that's a key characteristic. And being a people person, because as a leader of an organization, you're going to have very valuable people in your customers that are interacting with the organization and your team, the team that you have working in the organization. And so being a people person, that definitely helps to be able to juggle both sides of that fence.
Okay, let me pick up on that then. So how big is your team now, Curtis?
There's 5 of us. There's 5 of us in the local Honeyman team.
Okay. Any plans to grow it?
Yeah, for sure. Pre-COVID, it was a team of sort of 12 to 14. But of course, the business went through sort of a really turbulent time. So it was sort of like, let's batten down the hatches and then try and hold on and get through this storm. And I was hoping that we were coming out of it. But then obviously since the energy crisis, the cost of living crisis, it seems like the storm is still around. There's still a lot of turbulent times. So at the moment, I'm sort of just sitting tight, working on our systems, our processes, our procedures, making sure that all of the cogs in the business are really well oiled and working efficiently and working properly. And so I think once we come out of this economic cycle, so probably at some point next year, we'll then look to expand and go again.
So as a leader who kind of, puts a lot of value on that kind of people skills, if you think back to when you had 12 staff,
Yes.
How important is it for you to kind of build a team kind of, team ethic, team environment, and find those kind of like-minded people to work in your business for you?
To be honest with you, mate, it is absolutely essential. It's absolutely essential because you're only as good as your team. You're only as good as your team. In my younger days, I actually read a book. I read a book by Peter Jones called Tycoon, and the one thing that really stood out for me from that book was look after your people. Your people are the most important asset in the business. No matter how good your product is, no matter how strong your balance sheet is, without the right people around you, the right team supporting you that share your vision, that share your ethics and your values, without that, you're not going to get very far. So in our recruiting process, it's not just can you do the job or do you have the skills to do the job, because those things we can teach you. The things that we can't teach you is, do you have the values? Are you environmentally conscious? Do you want to help us on this mission to help save the bees and keep the nation healthy through raw local honey? And so identifying that in interview process is very important for us. And I've been pleased to say that I didn't always get it right, I must say. I didn't always get it right, but I feel like we're at a good point now. We're at a good point. We've got a good team. They all get along well. They all understand the vision and share my my ethics and my values of how we want to do business, how we want to grow and continue moving forward.
Makes sense. Makes complete sense. Thanks for the Peter James plug, by the way. That was completely it seems like that was staged, but it wasn't.
It wasn't planned. It really wasn't planned.
I haven't actually read the book Tycoon, but
no.
I know it has to be. It's,
mate,
it's
right?
being added to the list. Trust me.
I think you should whisper that one. Don't let him know.
I want to pick up on another skill you mentioned. Actually, was tenacity and that perseverance. Right? Can you think of a story where something went wrong and it was easy for you to chuck in the towel or the suit?
Which one, mate? Which one?
Is there anyone that sticks in your mind where it was, you look back and you're like, that was touch and go, and I could have so easily have just given up?
There has been a lot of losses, a lot of failures along the way. In order to reach any level of success in any industry, in any career path, it seems as though it's almost a must. It's a given that you're gonna reach some stumbling blocks. You're gonna reach some points in your journey that you feel as though this is just such a big challenge. How do I get over it? How do I get over it? But you then have to draw on not just the team of people that you employ, but also your team of advisors, your team of consultants, people that have been there, done it before. Reading good books by well-acclaimed people is essential, because all of those factors help you overcome the challenges and really compartmentalize it. Because although you reach a stumbling block and you're like, whoa, I'm not sure how I'm going to get over this. This is the biggest hole that I've ever seen. It's the biggest hole you've ever seen, because you haven't gone on the journey yet. So lean on some other people that are more well versed in the art of business, the art of entrepreneurship. And when you speak to them about the whole challenge, it's the biggest one and it's all consuming for you. And you speak to them and they're like, mate, really? I would love to have that challenge right now. You should come over to my office and see some of the challenges that I've got going on. And it really helps you put things into perspective. So I feel as though that's what I would always, that's the advice that I would offer any young entrepreneur. When challenges, obstacles you're faced with, and you will be faced with them, lean on your advisors, your consultants, read good books about people that have done it before, and lean on your team as well. Your team, sit down and talk with them. I'm really struggling with this process. I'm really struggling with this part of the business. What do you think we should do? Like, so for instance, when the pandemic hit, everyone was scrambling. No one knew what was happening, where we're going. But I sat down with my team and I was sort of very open and honest and showed a bit of vulnerability. It's like, guys, I don't have all the answers here. I'm not sure what the road actually looks like. But let's batten down the hatches. Let's keep our ear to the ground. What are other businesses doing? What's the news saying? How should we operate? and we pivoted our business model, we pivoted the way we were working. And we were able to come through it. So I'll say just never think that it's the end. Never think that it's the end. There's always something else waiting for you. You just have to have that mindset, that tenacity to actually move and continue moving through it.
Wow, well said. Just for our audience today. No, you're welcome. That was really well said. Some really good questions coming in. Just a reminder, we're gonna go through them at the end. I think you've got a fellow bee lover in the audience, in Stuart.
Oh, brilliant!
Just
brilliant.
by the technicality of his question, I love it. Yeah. I want to flip what we were just talking about in terms of pitfalls and persevering onto rewards. So, what as an established successful entrepreneur, what rewards have you found in life, and that going through all those kind of challenges, how does it pay itself back?
Well, I suppose being in charge of my diary and being in charge of my time, deciding what I do on a day-to-day basis, how I do it, being able to live my life on my terms, I think is one of sort of the biggest rewards. Because although yes, it's hard, it's turbulent, there's a lot of challenges, obstacles, but then on the other side, the reward is that you see well, if you're lucky enough, you see a good monetary value, a good monetary benefit. But you also get to decide when you're going to be in the office. And so my daughter has a play coming up. It's in my diary. There's nothing that's going to be able to move me. So that I'm not going to be able to attend. I want to spend time with the kids. I want to pick them up from school. It's like okay, 3:00. I'm going now, and then so that I can pick her up for 3:30. So I'd say that the main reward is really just having control of your life, and the added bonus, the cherry on top, is doing something that you enjoy, doing something that you love. Maybe 2 hours ago, our offices here, where we're based in Walthamstow, I was just going through some bees and getting them ready to go out to customers. We've got sort of, I'm not even sure, maybe 30 or 40 customers that are going to come here on Saturday morning, very excited, and they're going to come and collect their box of bees so that they can start beekeeping as well. And so the day has been really, it's been really diverse and adventurous and exciting. And then getting a chance to sit down with someone such as yourself and the lovely guest that we have online, I enjoy it. I do. I enjoy it. There's a lot of rewards and a lot of downsides.
We can definitely see that you enjoy it. It's great to see. Were you always kind of, did you always, when you got into the business, were you quite like an environmentally aware person, or did that kind of environmental responsibility grow within you because of your product?
I would say that it started, the seed actually started growing when my uncle took me down to my first beehive. And then I started to look at flowers and the environment through a different lens, And then as I started to grow and then get sort of more entrenched in the business, the environmental side really opened up for me, And at that time, the bees were having a really bad time, and there was a lot of news in the press about the decline of the honeybee and the eroding of the countryside and the natural habitat, and so for me it gave me purpose. It gave me drive. It was something that I can help make a difference. That I can use my skills to breed and raise honeybees and send more bees out into the world, and to provide awareness and consciousness for people. So rather than pave over your driveway, plant some flowers. Rather than have all of your garden heavily manicured, leave a section at the end and leave it just totally wild. Yeah. And sprinkle some wildflowers. and just let the butterflies, the flies, the bees, let them just do their thing, and go up on a Sunday morning with your cup of tea, sit in the chair and just watch and just be at ease. Take a moment, be at ease with the nature and be at one. It really is wonderful. It's a wonderful place to be.
Amazing. I'm actually going to pick up on a question in the chat because I think it's a good way to queue up the next couple of questions.
Okay,
it's a very simple question. It's how would you define your target market? Because you've talked about, I mean, when at the start you said your USP is taste, right? And then and the fact that it's local, right? So would you say your
and
ideal,
the traceability
and the traceability
that it comes direct from the beekeeper? Yeah.
But then you've also said that some of your customers come into the shop and they want to feel that closeness to the production. And then also hearing you speak so passionately about the environment, I'm guessing there's quite a few customers that come through your door. They could buy an alternative product, but they don't because of your processes that support the environment, right?
Yes.
Do you have a definition of your target market?
Yeah, I suppose without going into sort of granular detail about our target market, I would say as a whole, it's people that are aware of their environment and aware of how that interacts with themselves, their immune system, and their health. Because consuming local foods, consuming raw, natural foods, it's only going to help boost you as a person, boost your immune system. It's going to help boost the local industries. The local industries are going to help boost the local environment. So it has a sort of a full chain, a full circle effect. So yeah, to answer your question, I would definitely say that our target market our target market are health conscious individuals, environmentally conscious individuals.
Okay, and on the health side, we live in a misinformation era, as you will very well know. 1 minute they're saying, and I say they, who knows who they are, but that chocolate's good for you, or chocolate's now bad for you. Coffee's bad for you. Coffee's actually good. It reduces migraines, whatever, right? There's always conflicting. Every year there seems to be, they're changing their mind about what's good. Do you feel that battle with misinformation about honey and the health properties?
I would say honey's one of those unique products where there never really seems to be any negative misinformation about honey, because in all different cultures, in all different religions, honey is put on a pedestal for its natural health properties, for its energy properties. And just a fun fact here. But did you know that honey is the only food product that the human body can solely live on? There's no other food product on the planet that the human body can solely live on. Not even water, because after a while, the body's going to require some carbohydrates, some minerals, some proteins, and honey is able to give you all of sort of not all of them, but to give you a fair amount of amino acids, minerals, carbohydrates, and it's also, good honey is also 19-20% water, so you're actually still getting the water intake into your body as well. And so from a misinformation perspective, I feel as though we're quite fortunate,
right?
But just on that point, what I would say is it's all about moderation. All about moderation. If you're having 10 cups of coffee, 10 bars of chocolate a day, it's going to be bad for you. If you're having 10 jars of honey every day, it's going to be bad for you. So, but you need to have things in moderation and listen to your body as well. Give yourself that time and that space to listen to your body. When you eat something and you don't feel right, or you feel very sleepy, or some other type of issue appears, try to track back in your diet and to isolate what exactly did I eat that actually made me feel like that, and then go through the process of elimination.
Amazing. I didn't, as someone's writing in the Reza wrote in the chat, absolutely no idea. That's actually a mind-blowing fact about honey. It's crazy. Is that on your website?
Some people.
Is that on your website? No.
No, it's not actually. It's not actually. There's a marketing campaign, buddy. There's a marketing campaign.
Because you've got
I'm
on
sure
your
there's a lot of people
Instagram
googling
channel.
it right now. Eh?
They are, yeah, they're fact checking. But on your Instagram, you've got that "Did you know" section, and I was having a little play around on my lunch break today on there. It's really interesting.
Okay.
It is really interesting. But I can see, if it wasn't for your children, maybe you could do like we get Channel 4 involved, and literally 3 months you survive off honey. I'd love to watch that.
yeah. Well, mate, I'd probably lose a lot of my muscle mass as well.
That's true.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That would be great.
I want to talk about competition.
You'd have to come on with me, mate. You'd have to do it with me. I wouldn't be doing it by myself.
I got no muscle to lose, so it's a win-win. I want to talk about competition. How important is it for you to know, like, what your competition is up to in the market?
Personally, I don't place a lot of emphasis on our competition. When I was coming up and I was starting, and it was me, myself, and I was always watching the competition. Always watching the competition for tips, tricks. What are they up to? How are they presenting things? How are they doing things? But I feel as though we've moved along in the industry, and we've got to a really fortunate space where a lot of people are watching us to see what we're doing, to see what new health benefit infusions that we're bringing out to actually infuse with the honey, and then people are trying to mimic us, which is really sort of humbling and nice to see. But I suppose if I was talking to the young entrepreneurs coming up, yes, it's important to look and watch what your competitors are doing, because that kind of gives you somewhat of a stare as to what are they doing, how can I do it differently, because you have to try to build in a competitive advantage. Well, why is one person going to come and buy this apple as compared to this apple? How can you package your apple differently? What's unique about your product compared to this product? So you have to try to find the competitive advantage and try and find a niche. Try and find your own lane. You can imagine how sort of my banker friends, my family, my friends that were not sort of connected to my career, how they felt when I said, okay, I'm leaving banking, but I'm going into beekeeping. It was like, really, mate? Have you fell and hit your head somewhere? You've been stung too many times, guys. You're not in the right frame of mind, But then, over time, I was able to demonstrate and show them that I was onto something. So I would say, pick your niche, pick your lane, and stick with it. Do your research and make sure that what you're actually embarking on is there's demand for it. It's wanted. It's wanted in the space.
Amazing. We are coming on to your questions very soon, guys. I've actually only got a couple more questions for you, Curtis. I want to go back to your journey, because it's a fascinating journey. You mentioned your uncle, who is a master beekeeper. So, first of all, how do you earn that title? Because I want
it. well, mate. Well, first of all, you've got to do 40 plus years as a beekeeper. You've got to do 40 plus years as a beekeeper. You've got to be able to have practiced the art of beekeeping in different continents, and you've really just got to be one with the bees. My uncle, he never used to wear any protective clothing. Never wear any protective clothing at all, and he's in the beehive, just being at one with them, and he never used to get stung. He used to drive me crazy. There's me in my bee suit with my gloves on and holding the smoker, panicking, and somehow the bees managed to get into my suit and sting me. And my uncle's there, no care at all, not a care in the world, fine, having a happy, rosy day, having a rosy time. And so for me, all of those elements feed into him actually being a master beekeeper.
Amazing.
So have you got that up your sleeve?
I can't do anything. I can't dedicate myself anything for 40 plus years. Are you joking? My last question for you, and then we'll move on to the audience questions, is like, so now, currently, I'm just putting in the chat for everyone is a link to your page, your website, because you are now an investor as well as running the business. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I've been fortunate to get to a stage that the business doesn't require me on a day-to-day basis. And it's been a really sort of long, tough journey. And so now I'm able to diversify and do different things. I'm able to give talks such as this. I'm able to give back and inspire the next generation. And I get booked for a lot of TV and media work. We've done something with Sky One, I think, a couple of years ago, where I featured on the Russell Brand show. Taking them through some hives on a bit of a beekeeping journey. I've done some things with the CBBC. We've done a honey series. Went across the country for a competition with youngsters of who could be the best beekeeper, who could produce the best honey. I've done things with BBC One, Channel 4. And yeah, I invest in other up and coming businesses, other young entrepreneurs who I see have got that, that special something, and so I've been blessed enough to be in that position where I can do sort of more extracurricular activities, let's call it, away from the business.
Amazing. Well, yeah, guys, please do check out his website. Right, over to our audience questions. I reckon we can get through these into the next 10 minutes. So first ones, I'm just going to go from the top down. So first one's from Bill, which is, did you get any investment in the business, or did it all grow organically?
So it started off growing organically, and then I got to the stage that I wanted I wanted faster growth. When I was younger, I used to be very impatient. I've been working on it, so I'm a bit more patient now. But in my younger days, I was very impatient. So I got I think back then it was called a startup loan, which was a pot of money dedicated to entrepreneurs coming up that had a viable business model, and they could demonstrate the demand for the product or service that you were supplying. And so, yeah, to answer your question, in the early days, I had a startup loan, which helped sort of propel me forward.
Okay. And how many hives do you have at the moment? Forgive me if you did say before.
Yeah, so we're running just under 200 hives. We're running just under 200 hives, but we also have a cooperative of other bee farmers that are able to actually feed into to feed into our production or our supply chains. That's the right word. That are able to feed into our supply chain. So we have bee farmers and beekeepers that sign up to our values and ethics on how to look after the bees and how to produce honey, and so we're able to benefit from their honey supply as well, and they're able to benefit from having a channel and outlet to get rid of their honey.
Amazing. So is that you then leading that kind of that cooperative and those values? Did you create that kind of charter?
Oh yes. So I created at the start. Sort of through my vision, but I'm not necessarily at the moment on the ground leading it, so to speak. But yeah, I definitely set the wheels in motion.
And so you're basically consolidating a market that you're obviously really passionate about, right? You're helping other consolidate that supply chain. How many organizations, how many kind of individual beekeepers are in that corporation?
There's probably 20 plus. There's probably 20 plus.
Awesome. And is it all kind of inner city areas, or is it just London?
No. So it's within London and just outside the M25 as well. We'll go as far as I think Bishop Stortford.
Okay. And what was the first kind of superstore that you got into, and can you talk us through that process?
Oh, mate. Okay. The first superstore I think was Morrison's. I think it was Morrison's. Um, how did we get into Morrison's? So I applied to exhibit at an event. And that was a really strenuous process. We jumped through all of the hoops. And we got to the last round of being shortlisted. So they invited us down to a hall. It was in the countryside, and they invited a lot of their raging fan customers into the hall. And there must have been about maybe 12 or 15 suppliers in the hall showcasing their products, talking to their customers through their products, and their customers would walk around with sort of an anonymous card, and they would score your products, and they'd put their comments. And then at the end, if the customers felt as though you had a good product and that they would like to see it on the shelves in Morrison's, and they would actually buy it, Morrison then made that decision as to whether they would stock you or not. And yeah, fortunate enough, we were one of the few that were shortlisted. But I always tell any young budding entrepreneurs that the process of going from the supermarket knowing who you are to actually being stocked on the shelves, for me, that was about an 18-month process. No word of a lie. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of different things that you need to get into place. And even then, once you get into store, you don't realize the big void that it's going to create in your cash flow. You get the first PO, you're excited. Okay, 2,000 jars. How the hell am I gonna do 2,000 jars? Okay. Well, if I give you 2,000 jars today, can you pay me tomorrow? Is that okay? It doesn't work like that at this level. Maybe in 60 days, if you're lucky, we'll pay you for it. Well, how am I supposed to afford all of that stock going out, and then for the next 60 days to keep operating? And like, well, that's not our problem, kind of thing. The best we could do is maybe 45 days. I'm like, oh well, thank you. That 15 days is going to make all the difference. So it's just entrepreneurs and business people alike, just understanding that process and that element in business. And there's so many things to learn. I'm always constantly learning. By no means am I sort of the know-it-all for entrepreneurship and business, but I've had sort of over a decade or year of experience growing a business, developing a business. So I'll be able to see some of the intricacies of it.
No, for sure. That's really interesting. I'm going to move on to Stuart's question, and I'm not going to paraphrase this one. I'm just going to read it as it is. Do you raise your own queens?
Oh, queen rearing. In short, no, we don't. We don't do queen rearing. It is something that I have tried over the years, but I found that it is very. What's the right way? You have to be very diligent. And you have to be very organized and systematic. In terms of checking the hive, in terms of making sure that that when the queens are drawing the queen cell on the right day, you're there to cage them. Because if you miss that by even a day, one of the virgins will come out and kill all the other virgins. And you're like, oh, I had 30, and now I've only got one. And then the virgins then going off to mate. Are they going to mate successfully and come back? And it's very involved. It's very involved. Wow. I take my hat off to all the queen rearers. And did you say it was Stuart had that question?
Yeah, correct.
And Stuart, if you're a queen rarer or you know anyone that rears queens, please reach out and get in touch with us, because we're always looking for well-bred queens.
Did you see David Attenborough's recent program on the British Isles?
No.
There was a crazy bee-related moment. It was a larvae that's adapted to give off the scent of a queen bee Oh no.
No way.
You know what? I got
No
it wrong.
way.
It was a queen ant. It was a queen ant, and they basically adopt this larvae and it eats the whole hive from within. But I just found that.
Oh, wow.
Sorry,
Oh,
nothing to do with
wow.
these. Yeah.
Oh,
This would
wow.
be crazy. Yeah. Another good question that came through was around your kind of product development. So obviously you've got the beautiful natural product, and then you've got your packaging, which kind of has to reflect, you know, the organic, the naturalness of it. How was that a process, or did you kind of have that from day one?
No, that was definitely a process. That was definitely a process. And I'm not the best. I'm not the best person for branding or marketing. Yeah, I have a acute understanding of it now, but in the early days, the reason why I chuckled when you asked me that question was my labels in the early days were literally black and white. I think it said Curtis Honeyman, raw local honey by the beekeeper. It was in black and white, and it was printed off of a normal printer just onto address sticky labels, and onto the jar. It was as authentic as you could get. And then as we started building and developing, other people would come into the business. Other more experienced people in that particular field would see that we had something good, but we needed some help, and they would come in and consult with us and help us to develop the brand. But the label that you see now on the jars, that's probably maybe version 5 in our journey. So it takes a process. It definitely goes through a set of steps.
Okay. I'm going to ask a question that Reza put in quite recently, which is, how do you feel about the decline in the bee population?
Well, it's something that I'm very close to, and something that would be detrimental for the whole human race, let alone just everyone that's within the UK. Because I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but if the bees die out, I think Einstein predicts that 4 years later the human race will die out, because the bees and the pollinators, we rely on them for 60% of our food and produce. So it is a really serious issue, that needs addressing. And I suppose in my limited field of vision, we try to address it by breeding honeybees, and so breeding colonies of bees rather than just the isolated queens, helping people get into beekeeping, promoting it, and providing awareness on what people can do and how people can help the pollinators.
It's really interesting and sad at the same time.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I don't think there's any other questions. Have you seen the Bee movie?
Yes, yeah. I sat down and watched it with my daughter. Yeah, the Bee movie. Yeah, it's good fun.
Okay, I'll add that to the list after I read Tycoon. But there's Reza asked, I don't know, maybe the storyline touches on like a marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a good one? Is it one that in the movie?
What is the particular strategy? What's the
I haven't. Maybe Reza,
okay,
I haven't seen the movie, but Reza, if you can elaborate, that'd be amazing. But I think that brings us to the end of our conversation. Curtis, thank you so much for being our guest today. I hope you enjoyed it. We definitely enjoyed listening to all your stories, and wish you all the best as an investor and as a business owner.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, guys. Someone's writing something? Oh yeah, just you getting some thank yous. Okay, and look forward to sharing snippets of our conversation, and I'll send you the video as well, guys.
Okay, no worries. Cheers, thanks, guys.
Take care. Bye.